The biggest lie in the fitness industry is this: losing weight and building muscle are two separate goals. You pick one, you focus on one, you sacrifice the other. That lie has kept millions of people over 50 trapped in a cycle that never ends. They lose weight, they lose muscle with it, their metabolism crashes, the fat comes right back, and they end up worse than when they started. Here's what nobody is telling you. After 50, your body is playing by completely different rules. The hormones have shifted, the muscle is harder to keep. The fat, specifically the visceral fat deep in your belly, wrapped around your organs, that fat is now running a biological system designed to grow itself. And most of the advice you're getting was written for 30-year-olds. I've worked with over 50,000 people in this exact situation. The ones who actually transform, not just temporarily shrink, but completely change their body composition, are doing the same 7 things. And I'm going to show you all of them, counting up to the single most important one at the end. I'm also going to show you why most people who try to do this right are accidentally destroying their results without even knowing it. Let's start with the mistake almost everyone makes in week 1. Strategy number 7, stop starving your metabolism. The moment most people decide to get serious, they do the same thing. They slash their food, they skip breakfast, eat barely anything at lunch, drink a lot of water, go to bed hungry, and tell themselves this time they're finally being disciplined enough. And here's the thing, it works for about 2 weeks. Then something changes. And the change isn't in your willpower, it's in your biology. Your body has no idea you're trying to look better. It doesn't know anything about your goals. All it registers is that food has dropped dramatically, and its entire evolutionary programming kicks in to keep you alive. It does 3 things immediately. It slashes your metabolic rate, sometimes by 300 to 500 calories a day. It floods your system with hunger hormones, specifically ghrelin, which gets elevated far above your pre-diet baseline. That's why your cravings feel worse than before you started. And then it starts breaking down muscle tissue for fuel, because muscle is calorically expensive and your body sees it as a liability when food is scarce. So the scale moves down, but your metabolism moves down with it. Your muscle mass drops. And the second you eat normally again, the fat returns faster than it left, because your body is now burning hundreds fewer calories per day than it was when you started. That's not a willpower failure. That's a biological response you triggered. The actual target is a deficit of 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance level. That's enough for your body to mobilize stored fat without triggering the starvation response. And you don't need to count a single calorie to hit it. 2 habits get you there almost automatically. First, eliminate snacking. Every time you eat anything, your body releases insulin. And while insulin is elevated, fat burning is essentially switched off. Most people eating 3 meals plus snacks are keeping insulin elevated for 14 to 16 hours a day. Cut the snacks, eat 3 solid meals, and you give your body extended windows where insulin drops low enough to actually access stored fat. Second, build every meal around protein, healthy fat, and fiber. These 3 together trigger your body's own appetite-suppressing hormones, stabilize blood sugar, slow digestion, and physically fill you up. When you hit all 3 at once, you naturally eat less without white-knuckling your way through hunger. Strategy number 6, walk like your life depends on it. Because after 50, it might. Walking sounds too simple. I hear that all the time. But the metabolic effect walking has on your body, especially on visceral fat, is backed by a level of research that most people never hear about. Here's what's happening inside your muscles when you walk. Your muscle cells are pulling glucose directly out of your bloodstream, and they're doing it without requiring insulin. That's a big deal, because the less insulin your body has to release, the more time it spends in active fat-burning mode. A short 10 to 20-minute walk immediately after a meal has been shown to reduce blood sugar spikes by up to 30%. After dinner, when most people go directly from the table to the couch, that blood sugar spike is at its highest. Getting up and moving for even 10 minutes completely changes how your body processes that meal. Instead of storing the glucose as fat, your muscles absorb it directly. But here's the walking window that most people have never heard about, and it's even more powerful than after dinner. Walking in the morning before you eat anything. When you wake up, you've been in a fasting state for 7 to 9 hours, your insulin is at its daily low, your glycogen stores are partially depleted, Your body has very little readily available fuel. The moment you start moving, it has almost no choice but to pull from stored body fat to power that walk. Studies have found that people who walk fasted in the morning burn up to 57% more fat from the same distance compared to people who walk later after eating. On top of that, a morning walk improves your insulin sensitivity for the remainder of the day by up to 25%, meaning your body handles every meal more efficiently for hours afterward. If you can get outside in the morning, even better. Natural morning light hitting your eyes resets your circadian rhythm, stabilizes your hunger hormones throughout the day, and dramatically improves your deep sleep that night. The downstream effects of one 20-minute morning walk are felt across your entire biology for the next 24 hours. Strategy number 5, break the cortisol belly fat loop. There is a hormone quietly working against everything you're trying to do, and almost nobody talks about it. Cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol is your friend. It gets you out of bed, sharpens your focus, prepares you to handle challenges. The problem is what happens after 50, when your baseline cortisol slowly rises and your body gets worse and worse at shutting it off once it spikes. While cortisol is elevated, it does two things that directly undermine your goals. It breaks down muscle tissue to release amino acids into the bloodstream as emergency fuel, and it drives fat storage specifically into the abdominal region. Here's the part that should stop you cold. Visceral fat cells carry 4 times the cortisol receptors compared to fat cells anywhere else in your body. Your belly fat is unusually sensitive to cortisol, but it goes even further than that. Visceral fat contains an enzyme that converts inactive cortisol floating in your bloodstream into the active form, right inside the fat cell itself. That means the more visceral fat you accumulate, the more cortisol gets activated locally, which drives more visceral fat storage, which activates even more cortisol. Your belly fat is running its own cortisol factory. The cycle feeds itself, and it will keep feeding itself until you interrupt it from the outside. There are 3 tools that actually work. The first is controlled breathing. Before you dismiss this, the research is unambiguous. Slow diaphragmatic breathing directly activates the vagus nerve, which triggers your parasympathetic nervous system and physically lowers circulating cortisol. Box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, or simple 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale cycles done for just 1 to 3 minutes are among the fastest cortisol reduction tools available to you, and they cost nothing. The second is protecting your evening cortisol drop. Cortisol is supposed to be low at night, but caffeine after noon is still partially active in your bloodstream at 9 p.m., keeping cortisol elevated. Hard exercise within 3 hours of bedtime spikes cortisol right when it's supposed to fall. And eating within 2 to 3 hours of sleep triggers a blood sugar response that brings cortisol back up. Fix those 3 habits, and your body can actually complete the overnight hormonal recovery it needs. The third tool is when people never connect to cortisol at all, and that's your social life. Studies show that chronic loneliness and social isolation directly increase visceral fat accumulation, independent of diet and exercise. Your brain is wired to interpret social disconnection as a survival threat. That threat activates your stress response, which elevates cortisol, which grows visceral fat. Make the call, show up, spend real time with the people who matter to you. Your body responds to that as directly as it responds to what you eat. Strategy number 4, 2 supplements that attack visceral fat at the cellular level. Most supplements are noise. These 2 have clinical evidence strong enough to take seriously. The first is omega-3 fatty acids. Most people think of omega-3 as a heart supplement. What the research actually shows is that it attacks visceral fat directly through inflammation pathways. Visceral fat is an inflammatory organ. It actively produces compounds that keep your body in a state of low-grade chronic inflammation. That inflammation makes your cells insulin resistant, which means your body needs more insulin to do the same job, which means more fat storage and harder fat loss. Omega-3s interrupt that inflammatory cycle. In one controlled study, participants supplementing with omega-3 daily saw a 35% reduction in abdominal obesity. The group without omega-3 saw only 5.6%. That is not a small difference. On the muscle side, a 6-month study of adults aged 60 to 85 found that daily omega-3 supplementation resulted in significantly greater muscle gain and increased grip strength. The researchers described the muscle-building effect as comparable to testosterone or growth hormone therapy. From a fish oil capsule, target 750 to 1,500 milligrams daily of combined EPA and DHA from a high-quality third-party tested source. The second supplement is creatine monohydrate. The science on creatine for people over 50 has completely shifted in the past few years, and most people are still operating on outdated assumptions. Your body produces creatine naturally, but those levels decline with age. That's part of why muscle feels harder to keep and strength fades over time. Supplementing replaces those depleted stores, allowing your muscles to train harder, recover faster, and respond more powerfully to resistance training. 2.5 to 5 grams per day, taken consistently, no loading phase required. Take it after your workout for better uptake, and pair it with magnesium to improve absorption. Strategy number 3, sleep is where your body actually changes, and you're probably shortchanging it. Everything you do in the gym and kitchen either succeeds or fails based on what happens while you're sleeping. A Mayo Clinic study restricted healthy adults to 4 hours of sleep per night for just 2 weeks. The result was an 11% increase in visceral fat, not subcutaneous fat under the skin, but the deep organ surrounding fat that drives metabolic disease. The more alarming finding was this. When they allowed full recovery sleep for 3 days afterward, the visceral fat kept rising. The damage had momentum that rest alone couldn't stop. In a separate study, 2 groups followed identical diets and identical workouts. One slept 8 hours, one slept 5. Both groups lost weight, but the 5-hour group lost 60% more muscle. Same food, same training. 2/3 more muscle gone purely from less sleep. The mechanism is growth hormone. Your body releases growth hormone in large pulses during the deepest stages of sleep, primarily in the first 2 to 3 hours after you fall asleep. Growth hormone is what signals muscle repair and simultaneous fat burning. In your 20s, deep sleep represented about 19% of your total sleep. After 50, it collapses to below 4%. Your window for growth hormone release is already dramatically smaller than it used to be. Disrupt what little you have and you forfeit the recovery entirely. The 3 biggest disruptors are these: alcohol in the evening, even 1 or 2 drinks, suppresses the deep sleep stages where growth hormone fires. A warm bedroom temperature does the same, and cutting your sleep short to get an early workout is costing you more than the workout is giving you back. Protect 7 to 9 hours, and treat the first 3 hours of your sleep window as non-negotiable. Strategy number 2, protein is the signal, and after 50, you need to send it louder. Protein is the most talked about nutrient in fitness right now, but the conversation almost never accounts for what actually changes after 50. The phenomenon is called anabolic resistance. It means your muscles have become significantly less responsive to the protein you eat. The same 20 grams of protein that triggered strong muscle synthesis in your 30s produces a far weaker signal in your 50s and 60s. You can be training consistently, sleeping well, and still slowly losing muscle if your protein is too low, because your muscles aren't getting the signal they need to maintain themselves. The threshold after 50 is 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. For a 160-pound person, that's 110 to 160 grams daily. Most people eating an average diet are getting half that. And the timing matters as much as the total amount. Your muscles cannot store excess protein from dinner and use it the next morning. Once you exceed your absorption ceiling in a single sitting, the rest gets burned for energy or converted to fat. What you need is a consistent minimum of 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, spread across 3 meals throughout the day. Breakfast is where most people fail completely. Coffee, toast, cereal, or oatmeal alone give your muscles almost nothing to work with. Switch to eggs, one of the most bioavailable protein sources available. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, a quality protein shake. Get that 25-gram minimum into your first meal, and you immediately change how the rest of your day plays out metabolically. Strategy number 1, resistance training is non-negotiable. This is the only signal that keeps muscle alive. Everything on this list makes a difference, but without this one, the others are running on a foundation that's slowly collapsing underneath them. After 50, your body enters a state called sarcopenia. That's the age-related breakdown of muscle tissue. You lose 3 to 5% of your muscle mass every decade starting in your 30s. And when you try to lose fat without resistance training, your body doesn't just let muscle disappear passively. It actively cannibalizes it for fuel. Cardio won't stop it. Walking won't stop it. Extra protein alone won't stop it. The only signal your body responds to is mechanical load on the muscle. When you challenge your muscles against resistance, you send a biological message that this tissue is being used. It's necessary. It has to be preserved and rebuilt. The fibers your body abandons first are the fast twitch fibers, the explosive, powerful ones you use to stand up from a chair, catch yourself from stumbling, carry heavy things, move quickly when you need to. Studies show that fast twitch fibers in adults over 60 are on average 29% smaller than in younger adults. That shrinkage is the primary driver of functional weakness and falls in older adults. The extraordinary news is this. When older adults add resistance training, those fast twitch fibers rebuild by 24%, and that single adaptation accounts for 100% of the muscle gains observed. A landmark Mayo Clinic study confirmed that resistance training can slow and, in many cases, reverse the age-related decline in muscle, even in people who began training after age 70. Your muscles do not care about your birth certificate. They respond to the stimulus you give them, period. You don't need a gym. You don't need heavy weight. You need progressive challenge, 2 to 3 sessions per week. Focus on compound movements that work multiple muscle groups at once. Squats, hinges, rows, presses, lunges, step-ups. 2 to 3 sets per exercise, 8 to 12 reps, or 30 to 60 seconds of effort. Rest and repeat. And every few weeks, gradually increase the load. That progressive overload is the engine of continued growth. When you build more muscle, your resting metabolism rises, your blood sugar regulation improves, your insulin sensitivity increases. Your body finally has a biological reason to release the visceral fat it's been holding on to because you've become someone who uses muscle and needs it. Now that you have the foundation, the next step is to pour fuel on it. Short, strategic, high-intensity intervals, done correctly, accelerate visceral fat loss faster than anything else once your muscle is protected. If you're ready to take your results to the next level, watch my video on the best HIIT workouts for fat loss after 50. I'll walk you through the exact protocol and the same 10-minute routine I've used with tens of thousands of people to torch belly fat while keeping every ounce of hard-earned muscle. I've included 5 free follow-along workouts. No equipment, no gym, just your living room and the biology working in your favor. Click to watch it next. I'll see you there.